been one shooting after another, and neighbors living near Aurora Avenue are on edge once again. They woke up to more gun violence spilling into their neighborhood this weekend. They tell Fox 13's Shira Matsuzawa they are frustrated with the city's inaction.
This has been a familiar sound neighbors living near Aurora Avenue have been dealing with over and over again.
There's been a shooting almost every night in the last couple of weeks.
And they're frustrated.
It's spilling into our residential streets like gangbusters.
You see revolving door of pimps and johns circling through our neighborhood.
We have nightly prostitution. We have the gun violence that is coming along with it.
Around 4 o'clock Saturday morning, Seattle police say neighbors reported hearing more than 30 gunshots near Aurora Avenue North and North 98th Street.
Oh, man. Another classic example of when you vote for Democrats, you're going to live in a crap hole, okay? You get what you vote for, essentially. When you vote for Democrats, you're not going to live in a safe situation. And that is what's going on in Seattle right now, where you have violence going on all over the place. To the point where they've started to put planters, big planters in the middle of the road in some neighborhoods so that cars can't drive up and down their streets shooting at each other. Yeah. It's funny, but it's not funny. You know what I mean? Like, it's funny because you're like, what did you expect? You voted for this woke Seattle mayor. I forgot her name. What was her name? I thought I had a clip of her pulled up. Katie Wilson. You voted for this Katie Wilson chick who's never run anything a day in her life. As a matter of fact, before she was the mayor, I believe she lived at her parents' house, which in and of itself isn't necessarily an issue, but now you're expecting her to run a big major city and she's a socialist? Probably a horrible idea. So it's like, duh, you should have expected this. You know, I could see this from a mile away. How did you not see this coming? But then it's also sad as well because innocent people could possibly lose their lives. I've said before, I know of someone who has lost their life due to being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and some other individuals were off fighting and shots rang off. They started shooting at each other, but because this individual was just in the vicinity, they ended up getting hit in the head and dying. You know, so you don't want to see a situation like that happen, but it's also like, bro, you voted for this. You voted for this. When you were out there marching, ooh, Trump bad, the Nazis, we gonna vote blue no matter who. Remember when you said that? This is what you were asking for when you said that. This is exactly what you were asking for. So I want to touch on this story because I think it's quite interesting and crazy. But yeah, man, let's hop into it, shall we?
Now at 6, terrified neighbors in North Seattle are barricading their own streets after bullets tear through homes. The desperate move is meant to stop the gunfire from reaching their doorsteps. Good evening, I'm Preston Phillips.
And I'm Kelly Koopmans. People who live along Aurora Avenue say they are done waiting for the city to take action. Their solution is to set up planter boxes, keeping armed criminals from racing through the neighborhood. KOML's Joel Moreno is live in Seattle, where these barriers are raising other safety concerns. Joel?
Kelly and Preston, these metal containers you see right here behind me, they might be able to block access to people with guns who are fighting turf wars tied to human trafficking, but they can also potentially delay fire engines and ambulances whose crews are racing to get to an emergency.
Dozens of bullets ripped through this North Seattle neighborhood along Aurora Avenue, striking homes and sometimes blasting into bedrooms where children sleep.
I mean, we live right in the smack of everything, so we've had our house hit with bullets, and the neighbor behind us went through their window.
Look at that. You know? And then this is the part where it's not funny, you know what I mean? Because What if there's a little kid sitting, sleeping on the other side of that wall right there, where that bullet flies through? Now you got a dead child for no gosh darn reason. Well, it's for a reason. It's Democrats like Katie Wilson refuse to go harder on crime, right? Democrats love to scream, defund the police, until they found out it wasn't super beneficial on a national scale. So then they kind of backtracked off of it a little bit. But locally, they do this all the time. I mean, it's still going on a local level with these Democrats defunding the police, not giving the police the resources that they need in order to properly keep the citizens safe. On a local level, they're still doing it. It's just nationally, they're not really advertising it or talking about it anymore because they realized how unpopular it is. Which is also extremely deceptive, but, it's the Democrat Party, so what do you expect, right? What do you expect? Let's keep it rolling.
The neighbor behind us went through their window, actually.
It's a similar experience for other neighbors as turf wars erupt between armed groups involved in prostitution and other crimes along this troubled North Seattle corridor.
I think most nights can be a little bit scary when it gets super late, and then the last few months it's been like a lot of gunshots.
Now people living along side streets, including North 97th, are dragging in planter boxes, soil, and other barriers to stop gunmen from racing through their neighborhood.
I feel like if it's helped in other areas, it could definitely help here.
Previously, city officials ordered these concrete barriers to be set up at the end of North 101st Street. The goal was to stop shooters from using neighborhood streets as escape routes during gun battles tied to prostitution and human trafficking.
I do think it's helpful. I do think it's probably a small step into what really needs to be done.
But the makeshift barricades are also raising concerns about ambulances and fire crews getting through in an emergency.
You could turn down different street, take another 2 minutes, and, versus our safety.
A message posted at one barrier apologizes for the possible inconvenience it might create and urges people to notify city leaders that the gun violence needs to be meaningfully addressed.
I think we need them. I think it needs to be a more community effort because the issue with gun violence is that it's systemic. It's not just solved by putting up some barriers in some streets.
Bingo. There's the biggest problem, right? Putting up barriers doesn't stop the crime. Doesn't stop it at all. And quite honestly, depending on what type of vehicle you have, I'd say you could still push through those things. So in reality, it's not really stopping anybody. The true thing you need to do is make sure the police have the resources and the funds that they need in order to combat this crime. And you start locking people up and throwing away the key. Then you wouldn't have to have this nonsense in the middle of the street. And clearly you can get through here some kind of way because all of the cars in front of these houses are here. So it's definitely not blocking anything if everybody can still get through here. Like what, a car has to slow down a little bit to get around? Like that's not stopping anything. Silly, man. It's silly, but once again, this is what they voted for.
Well, over this holiday weekend, representatives from the mayor's office were out here to talk to neighbors about the problems that they're seeing in the area. And one of the promises that they made was to step up the emphasis patrols whenever police officers are available.
Ongoing gun violence convinced people living near Seattle's Aurora Avenue to set up barricades to keep traffickers and pimps out of the neighborhood. Now, city leaders are considering making some of those roadblocks permanent. KOMO's Joel Marino is live in North Seattle tonight, where residents say the help can't come soon enough. Joel.
Yeah, the concrete Jersey barrier that's set up right behind me, that has been in place since the summer of 2024. Now, in that time, it has helped to keep prostitution-related gun violence that takes place along Aurora Avenue from spilling into this neighborhood. In recent days, neighbors set up planter boxes on streets just off Aurora Avenue in Seattle in their own efforts to stop the almost nightly shootings. Gun battles tied to turf wars have sent bullets down side streets, striking people's homes and coming dangerously close to young children.
If this is the way neighbors decided to combat that, I applaud it.
The result has been a dramatic decrease in prostitutes that we've seen.
These early results are exactly what neighbors have been seeking to end what many describe as a late-night war zone on their doorsteps.
You know, I've had a gun pointed at my house. I've had bullets hit my fence. 2 feet higher would have hit my kid's window.
2 years ago, city officials dropped Jersey barriers on 2 nearby streets to deter prostitution-related gun violence.
That killed all the activity on those blocks because, you know, pimps can't just egress from Aurora into our neighborhood. They don't like to do business in a corner.
Now, city officials are reviewing whether more official barriers could be installed across the neighborhood. But first, they want to check with businesses about possible impacts and what changes need to be made.
We're most likely going to have to ask for SDOT to expand the tow zone there.
They don't need to do any more studies. They need to just drop those blocks.
Well, I just got an email from the mayor's office a few minutes before the newscast began, answering some of the questions I posed this morning. First off, they say they are going to remove the temporary barriers that the residents have been setting up in recent days and replace them in the next 48 hours, they say, with some kinds of traffic calming measures. And then over the next 2 weeks, they will study whether more permanent barriers would be appropriate to deal with the issues here. So a lot still evolving. We'll follow it. And I'm Joel Marino reporting.
You just can't make this stuff up. Instead of actually fixing what the issue is, you're just going to make sure that the issue is somewhere else. Instead of going out and arresting these individuals for doing what they're doing, you'd rather just block them off from going certain places. How does that make any type of sense? And you're talking about putting up permanent barricades. Once again, this is what they voted for. This is what they voted for. So now, yeah, sure, your block may be a bit safer, but as soon as you leave that block, now you're right back into the war zone. Goodness gracious, man. Talk about Democrat policies. Boy, I tell you, if you needed another reason to show up in the midterms, baby, well, there you go. Do you want that for the entire country? I don't. And I'm sure you don't either. Get out. Vote in the midterms, vote in the primaries to make sure that we get the candidates that we want and need. And let's keep these Democrats far away from office, please. Clearly, they have no clue what they're doing. All right? Stay safe out there. Peace and love. I'm out.